I'm Laura Ingraham, and this is the Ingraham Angle. Thank you for being with us tonight. The Biden honeypot. That's sweet, and it's the focus of tonight's angle.
Based on the executive order that I signed in response to Russia's initial intervention in Ukraine, we're imposing sanctions on more senior officials of the Russian government. In addition, we are today sanctioning a number of other individuals with substantial resources and influence who provide material support to the Russian leadership.
Yes, during the Obama administration, if you were a well-known oligarch from the former Soviet Union or one of its old bloc countries, you knew that there was a serious risk that you could be placed on a U.S. sanctions list, and therefore you could be hobbled financially. But some oligarchs had friends in high places, as in the Obama-Biden administration. Meet Ukrainian oligarch Yelena Baturina and Kazakhstani oligarch Keniz Rakishev, both of whom somehow escaped Obama's sanctions. How did they do that? Well, I don't know, but maybe they funneled big piles of cash to the family of Obama's VP? Well, courtesy of the House Oversight Committee, we know that Ms. Baturina paid $3.5 million to a shell company associated with Hunter Biden and Devon Archer. And Mr. Rakishev, meanwhile, wired $142,300 to another bank account used by Hunter and Archer. That's kind of an odd sum, I thought. Well, until I realized that the next day, on April 23rd, 2014, Hunter Biden paid that exact amount, $142,300, to purchase an expensive new toy, a Fisker sports car. But I guess that wasn't flashy enough, so he switched it to a Porsche convertible. Now, who knew Porsches were considered hooker magnets? I didn't. And it gets better. Those same two foreign oligarchs ended up having dinner with Joe Biden in 2014 and 2015. Oh, that's just another silly coincidence. And if you thought the White House would respond with a denial, think again. They'd rather insult your intelligence, what again? Well, Biden's deputy comms director, Kate Berner, replied to a Politico piece saying the memo doesn't show a direct payment to Joe Biden. Okay. Try to get your minds wrapped around this. His communication shop is not denying that the Biden family is bought and paid for by these foreign adversaries, but they want everyone to know that the oligarchs didn't write checks directly to Joe himself. Now, of course, they would dismiss this. I mean, this is no shock to any of us. And what are they going to say? That the House committee's findings are wrong? No. That $20 million in payments from foreign sources didn't go to the Bidens and their associates? Are all the bank records just part of Hillary's old vast right-wing conspiracy? Or, I don't know, are we to believe that Devon Archer, Tony Bobulinski, they were somehow lying when they said that Joe Biden was frequently on calls with Hunter's foreign partners? Well, our own Peter Doocy, and I love this moment, did what actual reporters are supposed to do today. He asked President Biden for an explanation.
There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them, talking business. Is that what?
Never talk business to anybody. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. President.
A lousy question? What is a good question for Joe Biden? What's your favorite color? What astrological sign are you? Now, anyone with a White House press badge who doesn't demand answers on this topic should not show up to work at all tomorrow. Just send your resume to the DNC and get it over with. Because the truth is, they all know what we all know, that Hunter's only knowledge about foreign transactions involved hookers, and the only high returns he could promise were from cocaine. His only expertise back then and now is limited to one area: selling access to his father and his father's vast network of contacts. In fact, Biden's protectorate, looking at this, is so shameless, though, they don't even pretend to defend the propriety of the money flow.
I think you have a nothing burger of an investigation.
Where are the high crimes and misdemeanors that have to do with Joe Biden?
So far, both investigations in the Oversight and Judiciary Committees have not been able to find that direct link.
There's no actual proof that the president had benefited financially from his son's foreign business dealing.
Now, of course, it's always been one big Biden money pot, right? Or a honey pot. It's all sweet, which Hunter himself noted in his now infamous electronic communications. His emails that revealed his payments to JRB. Wonder who that might be. And in his texts to his daughter Naomi, he complained about having to give his father half his salary. So the not-so-prodigal son was carrying a heavy load while supporting his heavy drug habit, it seems. The question isn't whether Joe Biden himself got direct payments from foreign business interests, even oligarchs. He's stupid, but he's not that stupid, right? But he benefited because his son benefited, his only remaining son. And it sent a message to the world that American policy was for sale. And what policy in particular was for sale? Well, we may not ever know. But as long as Joe Biden is in power, a cloud of corruption hangs over this White House. Take his announcement yesterday, brazenly crippling America's uranium mining capacity by making 1 million acres permanently off limits for any type of mining.
It's going to come from the sacrifices of dealing with taking on the climate crisis. Folks, these are investments in our planet, our people, in America itself, protecting our outdoor treasures, making our nation more resilient.
Treasures. He has a lot of treasures he wants to protect. But it's just more green smoke because uranium, that's obviously found in this million acres, is vital not just for nuclear power plants, but for our weapon systems. And what country, when you think about how this is all being cordoned off, can't do any mining here, is one of the biggest beneficiaries of Joe's courageous decision? None other than Kazakhstan, home of one of Biden's preferred oligarchs and one of his son's sugar daddies. It's now guaranteed to remain the dominant supplier of uranium to the United States with its 35% share. Well, it all could really make perfect sense, couldn't it? One of the most crooked families in American politics is responsible for making America permanently dependent on one of the most crooked countries on the face of the planet. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.